Have you ever pretended to be someone's girlfriend, only to find yourself falling for real? That's exactly what happened to Mia Chen when she agreed to help out her childhood friend, James. What started as a simple favor spiraled into something neither of them expected. Stay with me until the end to discover how one man's impossible rule changed everything. If you're enjoying this story, please hit that like button and subscribe for more emotional journeys that will leave you thinking about love, boundaries, and self-worth. Mia stared at her phone, reading James's text for the 5th time. Need a huge favor. Family reunion this weekend. They think I have a girlfriend. Please help. She sighed, remembering how they'd grown up next door to each other, how he'd stood up for her against bullies in middle school, how they drifted apart in college but still checked in occasionally. She owed him, didn't she? Before she could overthink it, she typed back, fine. But you owe me big time. The reunion was at his parents' lake house, a sprawling property she remembered from childhood summers. When James picked her up Friday afternoon, he looked different, more polished than the lanky boy she remembered, his jawline sharper, his shoulders broader under his button-down shirt. Thank you for this, he said, helping her with her weekend bag. My family's been on my case about settling down. I mentioned a girlfriend to get them off my back, and now they're expecting to meet her. So what's my backstory? Mia asked as they drove, the familiar countryside rolling past. How long have we been dating? How did we reconnect? I need details if we're going to be convincing. James glanced at her, a smile playing at his lips. 6 months. We ran into each other at a coffee shop downtown. You spilled your latte on my laptop. Cute, she said, rolling her eyes. Very rom-com. There's one more thing, James said, his voice suddenly serious. My family can be intense. Especially my grandmother. She's traditional, believes in certain roles in relationships. To make this believable, I need you to follow my lead completely. When I make decisions, don't question them in front of my family. It's just for show. Mia frowned. What do you mean, don't question them? Just trust me on this, he said, reaching over to squeeze her hand. The gesture felt strangely intimate. It's just for the weekend. The lake house was exactly as she remembered, the wraparound porch, the dock stretching into the water, the scent of pine and barbecue. James's family welcomed her warmly, especially his grandmother, a tiny woman with sharp eyes who clasped Mia's hands and said, finally, he brings home a nice girl. The first evening went smoothly. Mia played her part, laughing at James's father's jokes, helping his mother in the kitchen, sharing fabricated stories about their relationship. James stayed close, his hand on the small of her back, his arm around her shoulders. It felt natural, comfortable, too comfortable. At dinner, James ordered for her without asking what she wanted. When she opened her mouth to correct him, he gave her a pointed look, and she remembered their agreement. Later, when his uncle asked about her career plans, James answered before she could. Mia's thinking about going back to school, he said, though they'd never discussed it. That night, sharing his childhood bedroom, his parents had insisted, despite James's protests that he'd sleep on the couch, Mia confronted him. What was that about? You completely took over. I told you, my family's traditional. My grandmother especially. She wants to see that I'm taking care of you. It's the 21st century, James. No one expects that anymore. He sat on the edge of the bed, running a hand through his hair. Look, my grandmother controls the family trust. She's been hinting that she'll release my portion early if she sees I'm settling down properly. I need that money to start my business. Mia softened. James had always talked about opening his own architectural firm. Fine. But we need boundaries. The next day was harder. James made decisions for her at every turn, what activities they'd participate in, what she'd eat, even suggesting she change her outfit for the family photo because his grandmother might find it too revealing. Mia bit her tongue, reminding herself it was just pretend, just for the weekend. That evening, during the family barbecue, James's grandmother cornered them. "You two remind me of me and my Harold," she said, her eyes misty with memories. "He always took such good care of me. A man should be the head of the household, don't you think, Mia?" Before Mia could respond diplomatically, James's cousin Lisa snorted from nearby. "Grandma, that's so outdated. Relationships are partnerships now." The old woman's face hardened. "That's why you're on your second divorce, dear. No respect." An uncomfortable silence fell. James cleared his throat. "Mia understands the value of traditional roles, don't you, sweetheart?" His eyes pleaded with her. Mia felt trapped. She thought of her own parents' equal partnership, of her career ambitions, of everything she believed about relationships. But she also saw the desperation in James's eyes. "I think, different things work for different couples," she said carefully. James's grandmother frowned. "That sounds non-committal." "James, does she support your decisions?" "Absolutely," James said firmly. "In fact." He turned to Mia. "Sweetheart, would you mind getting me another beer from the cooler?" It was a small request, but something in his tone, the expectation, the public nature of it, made Mia's cheeks burn. She stood frozen, aware of everyone watching. "Please," James added, his voice softer but his eyes communicating the urgency. Mia walked to the cooler, her movements stiff. As she handed him the beer, she whispered, "We need to talk. Now." They excused themselves, walking down to the dock where they could speak privately. The sunset painted the lake orange and pink, a beautiful backdrop for their brewing argument. "What was that?" Mia demanded. "You made me feel like a servant." "I'm sorry," James said, genuinely contrite. "I got carried away. Grandma was watching, and I don't care. This isn't who I am, James. And I don't think it's who you are either." The James the First grew up with respected me. He was quiet for a long moment, looking out over the water. "You're right. I've been so focused on getting her approval, on getting that money, that I lost sight of everything else." He turned to her, his expression vulnerable in a way she hadn't seen since they were teenagers. "The truth is, seeing you again, being with you like this, even though it's pretend, it's made me realize how much I've missed you." Mia's anger faltered. "What are you saying?" "I'm saying that maybe this weekend isn't just pretend for me." He stepped closer. "Maybe it never was." Before she could process his words, his grandmother's voice called from the house. "James! Bring Mia back up. We're cutting the cake." James sighed. "We should go back." "Wait," Mia said, grabbing his arm. "We need to finish this conversation. Later," he promised. "After everyone goes to bed." But later never came. The evening stretched on with family games and stories, and by the time they returned to his room, Mia was too exhausted to reopen the discussion. She fell asleep on the far side of the bed, confused about her feelings and what James had meant. Sunday morning brought the final test. At breakfast, James's grandmother announced she had a gift for them. She presented James with a small box. Inside was an antique ring. "This was my mother's," she said. "I want you to have it, James. For when the time is right." Her meaning was clear, she expected an engagement. James looked at the ring, then at Mia, his expression unreadable. The entire family watched expectantly. "Actually, Grandma," James said slowly, "I can't accept this yet." A murmur ran through the family. His grandmother's face fell. "Why not? Isn't she the one?" James took a deep breath. "Mia is amazing. She's kind, brilliant, and stronger than anyone I know. She deserves someone who sees her as an equal, not someone who asks her to kneel to outdated rules. He turned to Mia. I'm sorry for this weekend. For asking you to be less than who you are. The truth is, if I ever were lucky enough to be with someone like you, I'd want it to be real, with all your opinions, your independence, your fire. The room was silent. Mia stared at him, her heart pounding. His grandmother studied them both, then surprised everyone by laughing. Well, it's about time you stood up for yourself, James. And for her. She turned to Mia. I was testing him, dear. I wanted to see if he'd choose what he thought I wanted over what was right. Harold never made me kneel, we stood side by side for 50 years. James looked stunned. But the trust is yours regardless, she said, patting his hand. I just wanted to make sure you'd use it wisely. A man who can't think for himself can't run a business. She winked at Mia. Though I do think you two would make a lovely couple, for real. The drive back to the city was quiet at first, both of them processing the weekend's events. I'm sorry, James finally said. I put you in an impossible position. You did, Mia agreed. But in a way, I'm glad. It made me realize something too. What's that? She smiled. That maybe I've missed you too. 3 months later, Mia and James returned to the lake house, this time as a real couple. Their relationship wasn't perfect, but it was equal, honest, and entirely their own. No rules about who should kneel, only mutual respect and growing love. As they walked hand in hand down to the dock where they'd had their pivotal conversation, James squeezed her fingers. Thank you for giving me a second chance. Mia leaned against him, watching the sunset paint the water gold. Thank you for learning when to stand your ground, and when to kneel. She smiled at his confused expression. Metaphorically speaking, of course. Sometimes the roles we play reveal truths we've been hiding from ourselves. For Mia and James, a weekend of pretense stripped away years of distance and showed them what really mattered, not who leads or follows, but choosing to walk the path together. If this story touched your heart, please like and subscribe for more tales of love, growth, and finding the courage to be yourself, even when others ask you to kneel.